has been working with schools and our K-12 and higher eds for a number of years, and this just seemed like another natural progression of our partnerships and working together to really do a countywide effort for all of our employers to hear that while all of the school districts follow DPI standards and all of that, they are all very, very different on how each of them approaches the items that are on your questions. And in order to maintain these great relationships between the schools and the employers, and Envision really considers themselves the middleman, the conduit for both of you. This is just another opportunity for employers to learn and engage. So we hope to continue to do more of these and for you to also engage with the high school counselors and learn more opportunities. And as we know, our demographics are changing in Fond du Lac County over the next 10 to 20 years. And one of our opportunities is we are growing in comparison to some of our neighboring counties. And we're growing through net migration. And that means people are moving into Fond du Lac County. The number one place people move from is New Mexico, followed by some of the other Sun Belt states, along with Cook County in Illinois, some of the eastern Minnesota counties, along with then some other parts of the state, which Eau Claire and Winnebago, Green Lake. So our opportunity to grow more is through attracting more people. We also know that people move for quality of life, and one of those top quality of life amenities people move for are good K-12 schools. We have good K-12 schools, we just need to tell the story better, and we know that when folks are looking on Zillow or they're looking at report cards, that some of our schools may not rank or look the best, but the story behind them is really what's important. And so we wanted to make sure that we're telling that story, because if it means for your next employee is going to live here, or they're going to live in Oregon, or they're going to live in West Bend or Appleton, and it comes down to the school districts, we want to make sure that we can tell the story for all of you as a business, knowing what the schools are doing, to say, let me tell you the whole story. We have great schools here, so you can choose comfortably to live, work, play, go to school, and get a great education here in Fond du Lac County. So we are going to start, as of right now, Rippon is not here, so we are going to start with Wayne Weber to kick it off.
Hello everybody, Wayne Weber, Superintendent of the Rosendale Brandon School District. I don't think they're pulling this meter over, it looks like we're all here and safe. I've been in the district since 2005 as a high school principal. Back in 2005 through 2016, and then became superintendent. Diane Rowley is our current high school principal, was the school counselor when I started, and brought her along because she's very well versed in our academic and career planning, our school to work options. I will say that in the time from 2005 on, what we do as a county, I think, has changed tremendously. I remember back in 2005 talking about the future worker shortage and how that was going to impact Fond du Lac County, and there's a lot of programs like the youth leadership program, trying to keep our kids here. And our district especially, we were the largest employer in our district until just a little bit ago. MSI in the north side of town added a shift, and so they are now 10 employees larger than we are. But most of our families are either in the agriculture world, and that's big, obviously, in our rural setting, or they're driving to the Oshkosh, Waupun, Fond du Lac areas. And so whatever we can do to keep our own kids here and find that this is a viable place to raise a family is important for our small district. And so I'm going to turn it over to Diane to talk about our, I guess,
the questions. Thank you all for coming. I think it's wonderful that you're all interested in the school setting. As a former counselor, I used to do a lot of events with business, working with CISA, working with the apprenticeship coordinators. I would say that over the years we've seen a real boost in our students are involved. And one thing that always bothered me as a counselor was when I would hear people say 4-year is not the only path, and they felt that we were pushing a 4-year path, and we most certainly do not push a 4-year path. We understand that there are a multitude of pathways out there for students, and that's what's super important. Even taking something like nursing, you could start at Moraine Park, you could start at Oshkosh, you could start at Marion. There's so many different ways to go about doing that. So I think that as we get our parents to understand that there are a lot of different opportunities for students and that we can fulfill some of those through high school, I think that that's key. Our youth apprenticeship program, as I'm sure with most of the schools, we are now partnering with CISA to get our students out into the workforce. And we have a lot of kids that go and work Holiday Automotive, they work at Tower Villa, so we have healthcare apprenticeships, manufacturing, transportation. I think what's great too is that we are now able to get those kids, it used to be more if they didn't get in at the beginning of their junior year, they couldn't get in. And so we have kids that start in the second semester, we have kids that do a 1-year apprenticeship. And so for them to be able to come into your places of business and to get a feel, I think that's super important. We have some kids that might start and do one apprenticeship and discover, oh, this isn't a good fit, but we tell them that's okay because now they know that about themselves, and now we're going to get into another line of work possibly and complete those certificates. So we are up to probably 20 students that are coming out of our school during the school day. They don't all have to leave school. That usually is what entices kids, but it can be done nights, weekends, and so forth, in a wide area. And so we're thankful that they have those opportunities. Our tech ed department right now, in case you aren't aware, we did pass a referendum which in April, which is very exciting for us because our tech ed space right now looks like it did probably in 1972 with a few minor changes. I think one of our biggest challenges for our district is that we don't have a lot of manufacturing right in our district proper. We just toured a school yesterday that had 6 to 8 partnerships with businesses that donated equipment to when they did their referendum. And we get juice boxes from Power Packaging, but when we're looking for those business partnerships, even though we're not necessarily in that area of the businesses, I think that would be key for us if we can get more help from businesses coming in and being willing to partner with us. So we're looking at a redo of our tech ed space, really focusing on construction, wood materials, and metals, welding. So we have a lot of dual credit opportunities with both Moraine Park and Fox Valley Tech, Lakeshore Tech for our A, and I think that that's really important for our kids. As far as our academic and career planning, our ACP, how do we approach getting kids ready? That starts really elementary on, when it's the Ag Ambassador coming in to speak with our elementary kids. 6th grade is when we start a little bit more doing career development and career courses, and really that interest inventory is starting to develop those paths so that kids, when they come into high school, they've already heard about it and they're online, because if you want to do a youth apprenticeship your junior year, you have to make sure you're attaining those credits and that you're going to be in line to graduate. So our academic and career planning, our counselors right now are pretty much the basis of that. Teaching courses, required courses at 7th and 8th grade that allow the kids to get in and start finding out what's available. Tours at Moraine Park to see, and then they get in and see the different types of programs that they can go into to pique that interest as well. And then working with area employers, I guess I kind of touched on that a little bit in terms of we don't have a lot right here. So we're always looking to partner with someone. How can we help you? How can you help us? Coming in, we had a great business teacher who would bring in a lot of people, even just talking about the opportunities that are here. I think that kids know what they know. They know they can be a nurse, or they know that they can be, they can work in automotive, but they don't know all the other opportunities that are out there, even in healthcare, for example, respiratory therapists, a dietitian. So when we get employers coming in and talking to our kids, come in with a little presentation or a lunch and learn, and maybe you're just going to come and set up your table and kids can talk to you about about your business and about what you do. I think that's really important for kids. We need to open their eyes out more, and they don't always listen to us. But sometimes a stranger actually knows something. And so I think that that's really important as well, is just having you come in, speak with our different classes, how can we partner? When the kids ask the question, when are we ever going to need English? I was a former English teacher, right? When are we ever going to need math? I might still ask that question sometimes, but I think that's super important that from a business standpoint, you can come in and say, why, yes, we do actually still use email. So you do need, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you do need to check your email sometimes because that's where the information comes out. So I think that's always helpful for us as well. And just thank you for taking our kids in. Thank you for being willing to take a chance on some of our students and let them get exposed to find out what's happening. Is that what it is?
Perfect.
We're good now?
That was perfect.
Was it good?
Nice work.
Do you want to say ditto? I was going to say ditto, and I found out we were first.
Yeah. So I'm from Waupun Area School District. My name is Doug Dish, and I'm a former art teacher. I taught art for over 20 years, and then I got into the youth apprenticeship program maybe about 7 years ago. And at first it was a little slow going, but I was trying to build relationships with local businesses and trying to convince them of the importance of this youth apprenticeship program. And then I was also trying to communicate to our parents and our students about what a great opportunity this was. And I think our first year we only had 5 or 6 students, and it's just blown up. You know, each year it just keeps, we just keep adding more and more. I'm spending less and less time promoting it to our students because the students are doing all the salesmanship for me. They're telling their friends, they're sharing their experiences. We're starting to get younger siblings where their older brother or sister went through the program. So I'm sure that's true across many school districts how valuable that program is. It's been so successful at our school district. It's been very, very important. I think one key component for the youth apprenticeship program is the mentor at the business. Having that right person that is passionate and wants to work with a 16, 17, 18-year-old that has that personality, because I've seen both sides, and mostly it's been very, very successful. But the real success stories are when that student is partnered with mentors at the work site that just are eager to share what they pass on their knowledge and encourage that student and growth. And we definitely have students also that start in one area and then they find out, that this isn't for them. But that's great because now they're not waiting until they're 18 and then pursuing a career after high school. They get so deep into it in post-secondary and then find out that that's not the right path for them and having to switch. I think there's more pressure on families and students nowadays to choose the right path because a 4-year degree, the price tag on that is really increased. So it wasn't like when I was young where I could just go, and actually I didn't always want to be an art teacher, but it was maybe a little unusual for some of my peers, where they could go for a year, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, and then declare a major. I think there's more pressure now to choose something. Waupun, our demographic is, we used to really push for the 4-year degree at Waupun, and this is probably 10 years ago. We kind of saw a shift, and we weren't really serving our student body because at that time, less than 40% of our students completed a 4-year degree from Waupun Area High School. So we had 60% of our students that were either going to a 4-year and then changing their mind, or pursuing some other 2-year certification, going right into the workforce or military. So now that we've really opened up our academic and career planning to include all pathways, I think we're better serving our students. So the work-based learning and youth apprenticeship, the work-based learning, I don't care if it's a 2-hour job shadow or touring your business, our students are not any different. We can tell them the same thing over and over. The counselors, the classroom teachers are essential, but bringing that stranger in, I I would encourage you, if you are from a business, to find somebody that has a story that they would like to share with our students. Because I really see them perk up when they hear someone else's pathway of success, even if they've only been out of high school 10 years. You know, this is where I started, and then I did this, and maybe they jumped around a little bit. But seeing someone else that's successful and learning that maybe they didn't know exactly what they wanted to do right after high school, and the mistakes they made, and how they got to where they are now. Our students, I see them ask follow-up questions to that, which shows their engagement and their interest. Tech ed, we are in the midst of really trying to rework our whole curriculum in tech ed. I think we have the facilities, but we need to change our mindset more into IT, automation, and then the engineers, the mechanical engineering to maintain that IT and automotive equipment. And I think we're missing that a little bit, but we have a plan to address that, because that's where the workforce is missing. You know, so more and more places, what I've been told is they're going to automation to address that workforce shortage. But they need the students or the workers that can maintain that equipment and program it, and then of course know how to run it. So we partner with MPTC a lot. I think that that's something that I push our students towards, to look at what's available and what opportunities you can go. Like you can go. My son is 20. He's working full time and he's going to school for IT. I think that's just an amazing opportunity for him. So he has zero debt. He's working hard because he's going to school and trying to, maintain the job requirements. But I think that that's one example of, a pathway it's pretty normal. You can make money and you can be successful and maybe even be promoted from within at that job. Academic and career planning. I think one of the first things I learned about that was we need to start younger. Like we got to get into that elementary school. So right now in our elementary, intermediate, we're even just starting to teach them vocabulary about academic and career planning. Like what do some of those terms mean? And then in 7th to 8th grade, everybody wants to be a professional athlete or an actor. Anything that's going to get them the biggest, most expensive house and most expensive car. And then in 9th grade, we start to see in those interest inventories some things. I want to be a surgeon because they just make a ton of money, but I hate science class, and I really struggle in that. So they start to be realistic, 9th, 10th grade, they start to develop some more realistic interests and, what's available. If I want to stay in Waupun, but I also want to play in the NBA, that's probably, let's have a backup plan. Where's other options? But we also really want to connect them. I think their sophomore, junior year, connect them with an employer that they can chat with. Inspire has that opportunity where they can connect with somebody that's in that workforce, ask questions. What school would be the best if I'm really interested in pursuing this career pathway, and just keep surveying them on their interests, because that's going to change. From 14 to 18, that's going to keep changing. And I really appreciate all our local employers. They've, just been very generous, whether it's youth apprenticeship or sponsorships, willingness to take somebody off of work and send them over to our school to talk to students. I think that is just very generous, and but it's also very impactful too. So if you can do that and give somebody a couple hours to go share their story at the high school, even if they don't ask a lot of questions, if it's not really engaging and interactive, after you leave, they can be kind of shy because they're missing some of those skills of talking to somebody or even a phone call. They prefer to message somebody that way, and if you're not using Snapchat or whatever they're using, they're asking me the questions afterwards, and then I'm just trying to get them back connected with our local employers.
Steve Hill, District Administrator to Lac County School District. It's the end of my 5th season. We kind of look at, right, so the students start. Trying to do a little bit of the challenges So we can't find teachers for these positions. I think one time UW Stout was graduating with like 10 for the entire state. So we're trying to be creative, so you try to find people from your workforce to come in and kind of bring it to us, but then teaching's hard. So I think the misconception out there often is that you just tell kids what to do, and they do it. Well, if you're a parent, right, it doesn't work all the time very well, right, within your own home, but yet somehow we're going to get, 18 to 24 with students from diverse backgrounds and needs. It's hard. To be a good teacher is really hard. So for this area, we end up almost plundering from each other. So a teacher can just say, well, I can drive 15 miles and make $3,000 more, or $5,000 more. We try not to do that, but that's just kind of reality of what we have. So we don't have enough teachers. Another problem that we have is sometimes we have antiquated equipment. When I got there, we had some equipment from the 70s, okay? There's no business around here using any of that. So we're trying to teach kids early skills on stuff that's not even being used. And they're like, this is hard, it's hard work, they don't want to do it. So then we're actually producing, so the cost, we have one, I don't know what it's called in one of our shops, but it's $25,000 for one piece of equipment in one of our stores, right? So that's one piece of equipment. It may not sound much to you in the private sector, but to us, that's a huge budget, line item budget, okay? Second part right now, we're losing teachers just because they say they don't have any support. So if you watch news and you see what's going on, suddenly we're all pedophiles, groomers, we have litter boxes in the bathrooms, like, are you catching that? Right? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not happening because, dear God, if it did, your entire community know about it in 18 seconds. But yet, that's what we hear. I just met with a family saying, we're going to leave because you don't teach the right things for our children to learn. When I stressed on that, it said because you are a groomer, you're a pedophile, and all that. So we have gone in a very short time where teachers were looked upon within the community as being a valued asset, right? You are helping our children get to the next step, to get them to the next thing. And suddenly, with what you just watched national news after national news on it, it's all clickbait, right? It's it's a bad story on something to get you to do it. But that constant drip is draining us, and I don't want to speak for my peers here, but it's really hard. So if you have a good teacher, if I could ask you to do one thing, send them a thank you. Because you know what, they don't hear it often enough because it's kind of their job, right? They did what they're supposed to do. But if you really did value a teacher who had an impact on your child, just give them a thank you. You don't know how much that will mean to them. So we have some challenges. We have churn in Waupun Area School District. About 10% of our teachers overturn every year. And so it's just hard because once you get going with something, you teach them up, they may leave. The more rural you are right now, it's harder. So the farther you get away from, following to the house, there's some benefit that we're only 18 miles down the road. But the farther you get away from those hubs across the state of Wisconsin, it gets really hard to teach these positions. Next challenge is voucher schools. As we continue to lose more students to voucher and choice, is that at some point a school district has to say it's expensive to run some programs. So what has to go at some point? Is that, so if we're having an opportunity, maybe 15 students here in something, or 12, it may be a great opportunity, but at some point we have to look at the bottom line and say we just can't afford to do that anymore. So not to be a downer in all this, but we have a lot, my peers at the table, we have a lot of challenges in front of us, and I don't think most of us have many of the answers for it coming forward. So whatever you can do to try to boost the morale of the teachers that have supported your children or yourselves, just give them a thank you, because that would help us out here, because oftentimes they only hear the negative. And with that, I'll pass it on.
That's fun.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. I'm Jeff Flake, Superintendent of Fond du Lac. And Steve, I thought watching the news the year was the best thing I ever did. So I don't even know what's going on, so I get my news from my wife when she tells me what's going on. But I don't know what's cool. I still watch the news, so it's been good for me. But yeah, in Fond du Lac, we're very proud of our apprenticeship program. I'm not gonna, everybody's talked about that. We have a number of business partnerships, number of kids in various industries working. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about our ACE Academy. It's our Architecture, Construction, Engineering Academy. It's been going on well before my time. We just recently had a signing day. We have students that are going to work for JFA. They've graduated. They've been in an apprenticeship going to work early in the morning, well before school starts, and then coming to school for their construction academy and their other courses. We're really proud of that partnership. It was and fortunate to have that. With the ACE Academy, we're also going to be adding an interior division, probably in the 24-25 school year. Focused on cabinetry, glass. We've had some partnerships, starting to foster some partnerships with that, with Bob Roy, who's been really the leader of this. I take no credit for it. Bob comes to me and tells me what he needs, and I say yay or nay, and 9 times out of 10, it's actually 10 out of 10, I usually say yes. Because Bob puts me in a position where I don't have a choice. So it's really been an outstanding partnership to look at that interior division, part of ACE. And from a tech ed standpoint, we have outstanding facilities. We have some equipment challenges. In our metals lab right now, you got stuff from the 70s, I got stuff that I'm pretty sure is off the ships from World War II. Okay, because that's where a lot of this equipment went. Because we had this in previous school, all the lathes and stuff were from the ships that were decommissioned in World War II. So we have some work to do there. We have auto, graphic arts, engineering, woods, the construction came into a separate building. So we have a very, I would call a robust program, which we should have given our size. I'll just share this with you from an academic and career planning standpoint. We graduated 512 kids a little over a week ago. Well, probably half are going to college. Out of that half, probably half will finish. And out of that half that went to college, more than half, well over half are female. So there are a couple things that give some advice to employers. Right now, we need employers that have high emotional intelligence to work with our students that are coming out of high school, because if they're going to go work for you, they're going to go off and work on their own and get their own gig. And I think that's one of the things that it's a disconnect that we have to work to meet our kids where they're at. They want relationships with their supervisors. They want relationships with the people they're working with. I was recently at an employer. Apprenticeship student of ours with that employer. I went to go just check it out. And this is a student who had been in special education all the way through elementary, self-contained, gets to middle school, kind of self-contained, gets to high school, it gets kind of let out a little bit, goes to his apprenticeship, and is thriving. He is thriving and doing an outstanding job. He's smart, and he's thriving because there's the supervisors have a high EQ. They believe in him. They have a relationship with them, and they are supporting him. And the young man is thriving. And that is the key right now that we need for our kids. I'm old. We hire young teachers in the early 20s. I struggle to understand. I get a little bit through how they work. It's just different now than as I'm at the tail end of my career. Real tail end. But I'm working on trying to learn more how we can work with them, and this is what I'm hearing. It's the relationship piece, and really being supportive of them. And I think Steve said it best, we hire teachers, we just can't tell them to go do something and expect them to do it anymore. It just doesn't work that way. So I think from that, I'm really pleased with I think with our ACE Academy, there's over 130 businesses we work with, businesses that donate hours. We were bringing on additional partners with the interior division, which I'm really excited about. And our academic and career plan is embedded throughout our high school in our weekly homerooms. And I think this past spring, I want to talk a little bit about, we ran a business fair. I don't know if any of you were there. And it was kind of a chance for you to do some recruitment. And I don't know, were you able to hire anybody on that?
I got a few contacts for.
Oh, so that, well,
I
I
didn't
guess we can do that. Anyway, well, at least we opened the door for you, all right? That's okay. Didn't really help you much. Sorry about that. So we're starting to do that, where we come in and you can do some recruiting with our students and whatnot. And I think in addition to that, partnerships are very important. We have over the last year really forged a very close partnership with Rain Park. Pleased to announce next fall we're going to have a health science academy where our students are going to be enrolled at our high school as well as taking college credit at Marine Park. When they finish in high school, they're going to be around halfway to their RN. That's what we're hoping. And then we are also starting a manufacturing academy next fall. It's robotics, engineering, manufacturing. And that is for high-level manufacturing jobs. Students have to be proficient in Algebra 2. So to really thrive in that setting, and we're excited about that. And we have 7 students that have signed on to do that And so, yeah, it's just continuing to build those partnerships to serve our students. And I'll just share this with you. Right now from higher ed, one of the things we're hearing is we do a lot of work with the University of Richmond right now through school transformation. They're telling us going to college is not the thing anymore. Preparing kids to serve in the local economy is. But we have to ensure that they can read, write, and do math at a proficient level so they can work for you, and we also got to teach them to think. Because you all want them to think. So that's what we're even hearing that from our folks that are working on school transformation work with us. So I just want to thank you. I know we probably have some folks here that are partnering with Fond du Lac School District, and I want to say thank you for your support. So, that's all I got.
I'm Tracy Connors, so we're going to go from the largest school district in Fond du Lac County to probably one of the smallest school districts in Fond du Lac County, so I'm the superintendent of Goldfield. We're excited. We did pass a referendum, so we are transforming a number of our work art spaces, particularly around career and technical education, which I have counted in my head that it's career technical education, not tech ed. I was yelled at many, many times by a former colleague. So when we look at our students and the vision that we have for our students is that they will be able to go through any door in their lifetime based on the education that we're providing them. So if they want to go into the workforce, if they want to go into a four-year university, a two-year, a trade program, an apprenticeship program, we want to make sure that they have the foundation and the experiences that they can go through any of those doors at any time during their lifetime. Because we know that once we graduate them, our goal is that they become productive parts of our society. This is, we talk about manufacturing, this is a 23-year process, really, by the time they're actually have a decent job and are paying taxes and are now part of our community and giving back now through taxes and good works to our communities. It takes a long time. So our products, as we talk about students, it's a long manufacturing process. But when we look at what we're doing for experiences for our students, our goal is always to provide them with those experiences. Now, as a small school district, we may not have as many of those programs that maybe Fond du Lac may have, but what we do have is an agrarian community that values the ability for our students to get involved in the community and work-based learning. So we do have an active program with youth apprenticeship. We have agribusiness. We have a very strong ag program in our district that goes anywhere from small animal science to agrarian business, agribusiness to caring greenhouse to wildlife management, all the way through veterinary science and food sciences. So she is a very robust program that's very strong and it's very popular within the school. Our tech ed program, and again, these spaces are all under renovation, but we're really looking at three lanes, which is autos, welding, and manufacturing, and how those go together. We also have robotics as well as some business courses in marketing and business law, as well as sometime I had here computer science. So giving students those experiences both in the school and then when we get to youth apprenticeship and work-based learning, we do have a strong work-based learning again, and getting students out into the community, getting them, a lot of them already are working within their chosen field or what they feel is their chosen field, and getting them to do that. And again, understanding that I may not need a college or a tech ed class right away. I'm going to go into the workforce, but having the ability to know and having contacts with MPTC and the other area community education sources that they can, at the time that they need to go back and say, hey, now I want to run my own business, I probably should take some business classes to understand how to do accounting and how to do marketing for my business and where can I apply those things. So making sure that they are aware of those things. Academic career planning obviously is a focal point, and it has been. We continue to move through that. That again is taught within our what we call Enrichment program. So we continue to do that, having those junior conferences, really talking with, and having parents starting to get engaged in those. So that's our goal for this year, is making sure that every junior has a conference with their parents, one-on-one, with a counselor on what their career path is. And then working with our area employers. Obviously, we have a lot of family farms. We also have students that are out in the workforce. We have students who have been involved in the CNA program, who are working on their nursing degree. And again, it's the idea that creating those multiple pathways and getting kids to experience them is our goal. And again, opening every door possible for them through their high school education, making sure that all those doors are open to them. There's none of them that are locked to them. That is really our goal in Oakville as we continue to move forward with our school to work program.
Great. Well, either I have the most difficult job now, or perhaps the easiest job to summarize. So my name is Tanya Kilpatrick. I am the director of the College Career Readiness Center at CISA 6, and we are a partner in the community with all of the school districts here, the employers, and also the post-secondary institutions locally here. So we support over 70 school districts, and so we come at this from a little bit different lens. Regionally, one of the things that we work on biannually is a comprehensive local needs assessment for the regions. And so we pull data specific to Fond du Lac County and then take a look at what are some of the transformational things that we can pinpoint to really hone in on preparing our kids to be self-sufficient and know, I think you heard that over and over again, know about the opportunities that are even available and present in front of them. So that data we look through annually, and I think some of the things that we're working with districts on is identifying and pinpointing stackable credentials. You heard a lot of schools talk about four-year degrees are not the end-all be-all, and that there's other pathways. We're trying to work with our technical college partners and our industry partners to infuse those stackable credentials that make sense. We don't want to push kids into things that you're not asking for, and that are not going to advance them in the workplace. So that's one of the pieces. Also working with our school districts on curriculum. The curriculum frameworks for career and technical education are quite different than what the frameworks are for a math, science, or a social studies teacher. Every career and technical education curriculum has career readiness standards built into it. So we're working with school districts on how to help teachers understand what those frameworks are, how those frameworks connect to your industry, and then also how that connects to academic and career planning. The other piece that I'll say is we alluded to the shortage of teachers. There's over 200 teacher openings in career and technical education fields right now in the state. So that's business, family, consumer science, agriculture, over 200. So when you think about that, there's only 426 school districts in the region. That's a lot of teacher openings that we have to fill specific to those career tech areas. So we're trying to work with school districts on alternative licensing opportunities. What are ways that we can get students into your facilities to receive training when we have 5 or 6 kids that might be interested in a particular career area, but we can't provide the services or the equipment to train them? So we're going to, as a community, we're going to have to start thinking a little bit differently about how education looks. And we continue to lean on our post-secondary partners as well to offer those opportunities for our kids. The other thing that you've heard a lot about youth apprenticeship, and before I get to that, youth apprenticeship is really a capstone for our kids. So we're working with students on the idea of a regional career pathway. And these regional career pathway frameworks help map out for a particular student, if they're interested in manufacturing, what are the 5 key areas within manufacturing that are in high demand specific to Fond du Lac County, and then it breaks it down further for them, and it says if you just want to graduate high school, here are your job opportunities, here are the salary ranges for them, and so on and so forth. If you want to go on and get a credential, a technical degree, a post-secondary degree, a doctorate degree, whatever that is all mapped out right in front of them, and it's a great tool for our parents to now see this in black and white. The flip side of these documents is regional coursework that they can engage in.
So we've created a blueprint that is, you know, I hate to say dummy proof, right? But it's the Cliff Note version for your career moving forward. And I'm proud to say that all of our school districts in our region, 100% of them have at least one career pathway that they're certified in the state level. So we're one of the few CISAs that has those kind of metrics. So that's an applaud to all of the school districts here because they're working really diligently to make sure that they're preparing your future workforce for you. So that's really cool. And that capstone experience, once we get kids moving through those career pathways, youth apprenticeship is one of those tools. And it's really exciting for me to see the growth for youth apprenticeship because CISA 6 formed a partnership with Envision, you know, a few years ago now. We're in the second year of this. When we started the partnership, there was 62 kids in Fond du Lac County in youth apprenticeship. We ended this year with 241 students. So we had a 289% increase in enrollments. And we're anticipating that to increase again into next year. And while the growth is awesome, you know, I think we also continue to be cognizant to where is the growth happening and what program areas do we still need to see additional growth in alignment with labor market needs, because we have to match both. If we're doing comprehensive local needs assessments and we know where the jobs are, we have to make sure that we're opening doors for students in those high need sectors. Because I can tell you, I've witnessed it firsthand, and I'll use IT as an example. Employers say, we need IT, we need IT, we need IT. We implement IT programs in the school districts, the kids get excited, they get jazzed about it, and then when they get to their junior and senior year, there's no career opportunities for them to go out and explore. They switch pathways. Now that's not solving your problem long term because now they don't have an area to go into. This was very true with manufacturing and construction. Manufacturing was our highest enrollment program area. That makes a lot of sense. It should be because of our labor market data. And the construction industry came to me, as well, it's probably 8 years ago now, and said, where are our kids? I said, I can tell you where they are. They're in manufacturing because there's not an opportunity for them. So when we started the construction YA program with the state, it is now our third highest enrollment area. We had over 600 students in construction last year in our consortium, and that continues to grow. So if you open the doors, they will come and they will find you. And I think really, I would say that this is really why we birthed Inspire for this region as well, because the reality in our school districts is, in addition to the shortage of teachers, we also have a shortage of school counselors, and the time suck that they have with emotional testing, all of those other pieces. It's average 300 to 400 kids per school counselor. So when you think about how much career development time is actually taking place one-on-one with those students, probably not happening a great deal. And people always think, go to the school counselor, go to the school counselor, go to the school counselor. Well, school counselor, it's unrealistic for them to be experts in every single one of your industries. That's why you are a valuable help to be able to be that voice and choice for kids immediately and provide those transformational transactions instead of just making it a one and done type situation. With academic and career planning, it's a great tool, it's a great process, but the only challenge with that is we're delivering content to kids, maybe not necessarily when they're ready for it. So that's really why we started Inspire, because it gives kids an opportunity to step in and for parents to engage also. I heard parents a lot, for them to step in when they're developmentally ready or when they have questions and they want to take a self-service approach to making those connections within the community. What else? Mentoring. They talked about mentoring. And I can't emphasize that enough. So whether you're mentoring in youth apprenticeship or mentoring through Inspire, there's tools in place and we have resources to help coach all of your employees. So when you bring a student on, don't go at that alone. Please reach out to us and let us help guide you in that experience if you need the assistance. We do survey students about their experiences, and it's pretty interesting the feedback that we get back about some of our mentors. And sometimes kids talk, right? We'll give them to you. It's what you do with the students once you have them in their door. You make or break their experience for that particular industry. And not only do you make or break that particular student's experience, but the 10 other friends that they have that might be also interested in that potential career area. So please lean on us for tools. And I would say from a feedback perspective, that is something that we do take very seriously because that's how we're going to continue to grow and develop students in Fond du Lac County. So every time that you partner with a student through Inspire or through Youth Apprenticeship, we are collecting data on that student and on that experience, and then we're providing this data back to our school districts, and it breaks it down specific across all of those employability skills or those experiences so that they have valuable information to take that back into their academic and career planning process and make corrections. Now, what's really cool to see as Fond du Lac County is that our students in Fond du Lac County, you as employers, have rated students minimum of 92% and higher meeting expectations when it comes to employability skills. So the kids that are out working for you, and granted it's 300, we have about 3,000 more to go, but those kids they're meeting your expectations based on our data. And it is things about teamwork, workplace standards, attitude, flexibility, communication, etc. So every single one of our districts has this information. So please, keep partnering, let us know how we can support your efforts and connect you to opportunities.
All right, well, pinch point here. Okay, thank you guys very much. Let's give them a round. So now we have some time. Hopefully you had some time to jot down some thoughts. We'd like to open it up for some questions. This is another plug though that we do have dessert back there. I know we serve most of you, but some of you maybe didn't get the opportunity. Feel free to hop up there anytime. You guys are just gonna have to wait, you know. Be there, don't worry. But yeah, let's start with any questions that you have, either for the group generally or for a specific panelist. Jean.
I heard that you said that you're sharing teachers, or however you talked about that, or I think you're going to be there to teach or here to teach. So Fond du Lac has a great facility. What about bringing kids? Is there room to bring kids to your Fond du Lac facility from the other schools to work in that ACE Academy?
I mean, one of the challenges you have to remember is that time, right? So you have windshield time for the student traveling there, so how, they lose opportunity. So if they're traveling 20, 30 minutes to get to a different facility, and there's laws and stuff, so I'm just saying that some things we can work with the state on, but we just start losing time. Like traveling from school to school and doing something, which is
We have done that in the past, the automotive program through Fond du Lac. We had a student, at least one, maybe more than one, attend, but that is it took a chunk out of their morning because their schedules don't necessarily line up. And one of the things that a barrier that we also, again, the more rural you are, right, the kids are traveling for any of their experiences. And there are a lot of opportunities for before school and after school work. Most of it's after school, more opportunities. And that drive time, so they're getting out missing school, but they're also they've got to make a conscious decision to miss whatever extracurriculars that they're going to be involved in. So that, when we have 20-some kids out of a high school of 300 who are participating, I'm pretty happy with those numbers because we also have a ton of kids in extracurriculars as well. But travel time, windshield time is the key.
So kind of what I'm hearing there is it would be better if businesses could basically give you an employee that they know would be a good mentor to go to your schools in your classroom, for like, let's say, a day a week.
Yeah, we'll set aside.
Wow!
Yeah.
Things like that, so if you have, if you come to our businesses and say, this is what our classroom has, and this is our needs, do we have something with readiness, or fabrication, or just welding?
something I am looking for on right now, yeah, that would be, and even if it's short term, we're flexible on the schedule, but that would be great, because that would overcome the travel concerns, and just remembering that we still want them to have that high school experience, so I love it when the employers are flexible with their schedules. It's like, hey, it's homecoming, or I've been working for you in the summer, all fall, but now in the winter I'm in this activity, so I need to pull back, and then they're welcome to come back after that's over, or work very minimal hours while they're in that activity, because I know that there are students that will just completely back out if they can't participate in hockey, and we wouldn't want them to miss out on that either. But so a lot of the employers that I work with are very flexible that way, and the kids love that.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that too. I think the other opportunity that we have once folks have staff in place going into next year is looking at what are the commonalities across the curriculum and where our gaps are. And then, I talked to Beth and MPTC about this too, and looking at where do we have opportunities to add dual credit where we might not be offering it. But if we see commonalities across the curriculum, that's a tool that we've leveraged our Career Tech and our Inspire team to then go out and deploy and then support those specific districts. So it might be that they're at Waupun on Tuesday and then Wednesday they're in Rosendale, Brandon, and they might be teaching the same content because we're able to align the units then so that your mentor volunteer is not having to come up or think about new processes or things that they have to train. So we can partner and collaborate with you on that to create some consistency.
Sure, can I raise my hand?
Yeah.
And one other thing I just want to build on that is, finding the tech ed or CTE teachers, we've had to be really creative, and they're not experts in everything that your business in any of those areas, whether it's healthcare or whatever, they're probably really good at being a teacher and managing the class and having knowledge in a lot of different areas, but not being an expert in any one. So one example is we brought in Mac from Mayville. They would bring in 2 welding instructors on a regular basis. We'd set it up, and they would teach the teacher, and they would teach and work with the students and critique them, and they love that. So that's a short term. It wasn't a huge commitment. It wasn't ongoing. It was just we'll come in a couple times this trimester, a couple times the next trimester, and then those classes are probably done for the year. That's another example, I think, that has been successful.
Tammy, did you have something?
I was just going to bring up with the extracurriculars, that was one area that I know our managers, and we span locations across the county, but that is one area that's difficult, and we are a very flexible environment, but what we're finding is some of the extracurriculars are demanding time from the kids in the morning, and it particularly comes into play with sports. They have to be lifting weights or doing something in the morning, and then they have to be available in the afternoon to feel like they have to choose one or the other. So, I don't know if that's something fixable or.
I'm also the activities director at school. At least in Waupun, we haven't had that a lot. There might be like one sport where it's football. It kind of comes to mind in August. They're doing that or whatever, but it should be short-lived. Students. There's a lot on their plate, so if they're coming into school at 6 in the morning to work out, and then going to school, and then going to work and practice, I don't know, I think that's too much.
I think it's difficult for some kids to make a decision either in sports or work. It has to be one or the other.
As a parent chime in that communicating with their coaches, my child is a dual sport, and we let coach know that they're doing something specific. It's a communication. It really comes down to communicating. Their coaches want to be successful in many areas outside of their sport. A lot of them are teachers, so.
And if the coaches know that this is part of their education too, they're not just serving tacos at the drive-thru. This is part of their school education. So then I know our coaches are, oh, okay, yeah, it's excused.
So, Krista Evans with JSA Hearing. I have a question specifically, there was some mention about post-secondary education and the number of young women going on to college and then the graduation of that. So I'm curious, when we talk to some of the teachers and we ask about some of the enrollments in the composition of tech ed classes, and one of the things that they say is, well, if we can get them in the class, if we can get women or minorities into those classes, they stay. We have historically shied away from 6th, 7th, 8th grade activities because it's so young, and it's like they're just like deer in headlights, right? Like, and so, how do we assist, or what can we do, or do you have any advice about how we attract, particularly young women? So, as an employer, it's very important to us, one, because it's half the population, and if we only recruit half the population, we will never recruit enough people. Two, we value the diversity of thought, the emotional intelligence that can be brought, and it is also, to be honest, it's a competitive advantage in our business if you can deliver those types of quality candidates. And so for all of those reasons, it's the right thing to do. Do you have any advice about how we can better populate those tech ed classes with a component that isn't predominantly or mostly male?
I know for our school, our tech ed teacher is doing a really good job on that, but for us, I think it is our current environment, and I think that we keep talking about modern manufacturing, right? Because I think a lot of people have an idea of what it looks like. So for our teacher, they're gonna build tiny houses, because the girls want to get in and learn how to do some of those things. Through Project Grill, we had a couple of girls who did the management portion of it more. And so I think it's just letting them know. I remember way back when I was a teacher, we had Jay Baker come in. Yeah, I think you came in. And when they talked about what opportunities are there within and so I think that's just that exposure piece for us. And I think once we have a cleaner, neater facility, and that probably does sound sexist, I admit that, but I think that our girls will be more, because I think some of our girls aren't ones who necessarily want to be doing the hands-on, but maybe the accounting side of it, the management side of it, the design side of it, the engineering portion. And so as we're working with our math people and trying to bring that in more, that it's not two separate things, you need to know math in order to do some of these. I think it's just making it more appealing and that exposure, get out there, what can you do? You're not necessarily installing the sprinkler systems, but maybe you're designing that portion.
Another, just to piggyback on that, Diane, is we've had, I work in HR at Connex, and we've had women that run equipment, that are in design, that are in the quality lab, that will do presentations. And it was really more so during COVID, Project Growth, we could have the schools come into the businesses, so we were doing more virtual things. But we had like 40% of our workforce in the shop is women. And so we are super proud of that. And so we have a CNC operator that she's like dressed better than like anybody in the whole company, and she's on the video, talking about this huge piece of equipment that she's running and how she learned that. And I mean, that really gets them to open their eyes about like, I can do this. And she's like, and I'm a single mom, and I can support my kids, and this is a very good lifestyle for me. And until you put somebody like that, and she's an actual person, right? She's not a paid advertisement. So, I think getting that more in front of those students can be eye-opening. Getting somebody like that to be a mentor during the youth apprenticeship is very important, because otherwise they don't even know what that means.
Well, and I just want to add to that too, because we have to continue to drip these opportunities, drip, puddle, right? If we have these one and done type events, well, it's great to get them excited, but then there's no sustainability to that excitement. So we hired Rebecca. So Rebecca, hi everyone. Rebecca's going to be supporting Fond du Lac County specifically. So she has a school counseling background, but the gap that we have is, once we identify an interest of a student, they don't have that person continually encouraging their development. So once Rebecca hones in on, okay, I've got these 3 girls from this district and these 3 girls from this district, well, now we can create regional opportunities to keep that mentoring and keep that systemic so that we don't lose those girls in that pipeline. Because that's the problem, we get them excited and then we lose them. So, and they don't have to take tech ed classes necessarily to be successful in those particular careers moving forward if we can get them ongoing mentoring.
In the office, you know what I mean? Like, that introductory, and it didn't necessarily have to be through a youth apprenticeship program, it was just getting people in the door that wanted to work to earn some money. Was able to get people through into other positions in the company. So I just see it really, I don't see people knocking on my door, let alone even showing up to say hi. I had 2 employees this last year that were really good high school employees that actually went to youth apprenticeship programs. And bummer for me, but they were great employees, you know what I mean? Like, we really see, especially because we're smaller and we're not necessarily, because we promote within for a lot of that stuff, it's not someone that has to go out and get more degrees, they're learning what they need to learn while they're there. I just want competency. I feel like that's everybody around us, you know what I mean? You just want someone who comes in and can understand what you're telling them and understand 1 and 2 equals 3, so that you're reducing the number of problems that go out the door. But that's the struggle I see, and the most encouraging thing I could see on my end, be seeing not just people who are come ready to do every single job, but people who want to come in and learn, is what I try to find.
If I could build on that, though, I think Jeff touched on it real quick, because I don't know if everybody kind of impacted what he said, though. We have a pool of students who we struggle with. I mean, I think that just because of their, if you want to know their home life, they're just out of their control, right? So they've grown up with this whole thing. They're smart, intelligent, they don't value school because at home it doesn't value school. So oftentimes, and Doug's kind of mentioned this, oftentimes we have some employers who want basically college-ready students to come in and kind of work with them with that skill set of interpersonal skills and how they talk and their manners and all that. We have a pool of kids who've never been modeled that, other than a teacher. Okay, so if we could work with somebody who's willing to give, and I love how you said it, they gave that student's emotional intelligence, they worked with them and gave that opportunity, and they have a great worker now. We have some students who are going to be that, but someone's going to take a chance on them. And somebody's going to have to take a chance on somebody and not work, but come back to us and say, that one didn't work. Do you have another opportunity for us? Because I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but you said that sometimes people get a bad impression. It's like, oh, well, Pon's sending us these, or whatever, and they don't want to deal with this anymore. And it's like, no, that one just didn't work out. You have other employees who don't work out, right? You don't stop hiring, you find a different animal. So I guess we could stress that a little bit. That we have a group of students in all of our buildings whose school doesn't matter for whatever reason, and we love them and we're working everything we can to get them there. But Jeff had a great point. Once they sometimes connect with you, boom, and they're great for us again all of a sudden, right? Because they're like, oh, this is why I'm at school, because I have this to go. So.
Yeah, I think that's another great thing about the youth apprenticeship program is that it really can serve all students. There's not a GPA requirement for it. I look at attendance and behavior when a student first approaches me, if I don't know them really well. And sometimes I'll give them that goal, like, hey, your attendance, the first half of the year, I said, show me in the next, 3 months that, your attendance rate is going to be this, and then we're going to talk about signing you up. And we've had success stories, definitely, like a student that just, and that's so great for them because it carries over into the high school experience too, because now we hold that. We hold their behavior at school over them so they can stay in the program. Their attendance at school, you can't just come to school when you want to. And it's some of the teachers are like, that kid's in youth apprenticeship? I'm like, yeah, and they're doing great. They said they want as many of that type of kid, if they could clone them, they would. And they're like, what? Some of them just don't, excel in the school environment, but out there working with adults and a mentor, doing what they love, they do great. And sometimes they do prove us right. So I'll take a chance on a student, and they'll get terminated from the job. And we try to support them along the way, but maybe that's what they need. They need to experience that and have that taken away, so then the next time, it's part of their growth.
So just to follow up on that, you're talking outside of youth apprenticeship, you just had employees.
Right, we just had employees, most are probably in their 30s right now, so 15 years ago or so, longer than that, 'cause I'm 35 too. But like, they were all people that lived in the area, and then, I'm actually from Rosendale, so I'm not that far away, but like, people worked and lived here, and then they come second, our my shifts run 2 to 2, so they might come in right after school and work till 8 or 9, or, you know what I mean, those kind of hours, odd hours.
So we'd be happy if you do this for other employers. We share job postings, so if we get, you know, job postings, we share them with our students
Sure.
so that they're aware of that. And we hire our own, we can't find second shift custodians, so we have the same thing. We have a number of students who are working for us from 3 to 5, and you know, we might have one position that we need for 8 hours, but we have 3 kids filling that for 2 1/4 hours each just to make that work. So we'd be happy to share.
My tip too would be to put it on Facebook, because our demographics for Waupon's Facebook, our school district, is the moms. It's mostly our group.
My son, their daughter needs a job.
They need a job, yeah, because the little kid is like, oh,
Parents
mom,
on Facebook.
yeah, they're not pressuring me to get a job. They're like, oh, you can go work for 6 hours.
Well, I run into it where I'm not necessarily looking for 50 new employees, but when I get those employees that want to work and stay, you know what I mean, it's really worth keeping them around.
Yeah, just another comment, I guess, is through Project Grow, there's been, you know, we go to a lot of schools, I'm sure, and we've seen in recent years where there's retired people helping out in the different classrooms, specifically in the tech ed classrooms. I know that there's a few schools in Project Grow that have that. And so, just for those employers, as we get people that are looking to retire from our companies, a lot of times they'll get their list of things done that they wanted to, and then they maybe are looking for a part-time job or something to volunteer. Is I encourage people that are retiring from contacts, you know, specifically that are machinists or maintenance people, or if they're just handy, like, go to the school that you live in and see if they need help. And I mean, at least the ones that I've met, they're like happy to be helping those students, and the teachers are happy to have them. And it's not because they need to make the money or make a lot of money, they're just volunteering, but it's just to keep their minds and bodies active. So I would just encourage, if you have people retiring, encourage them to reach out to their local school in the community they live in, because a lot of times they just are a wealth of knowledge.
I just want to make a comment. I think it's important that, at least for us, what we've experienced specifically through the Waupon High School system has been tremendous. You guys are doing something right, so I know it's hard to get, you know, or it's easy to get lost in everything else that's going on, but it's been excellent for us, all the way through. So we've had great students coming in, we've had wonderful young men and women who are now working for us. It's been terrific. So thank you.
And Doug's son is one of those. Right?
Doug's son.
So thank you.
If you don't mind, I'll make one more comment. One of the things that we do, and I know a lot of companies do this, is to provide tuition assistance for them to go on to school. Our policy used to be we would provide that tuition assistance as long as they were going to school for something that would benefit Tenneco. We've totally dropped that. It's now a matter of, you want to go on to school, we're going to support you. It doesn't matter to us why you're going. The outcome is, if you're doing something you love, you've got an interest in, that's going to reflect one way or the other in a positive way, whether it's with us as an employer or with somebody else down the street. So that has, honestly, it's become a real tuition, that tuition assistance has become a real benefit for us to try and pull people into it. So, leave it at that.
Well, I think going on that's a great point for all of us to leverage is with kids, it doesn't have to be school or work. It can be both at the same time. And they can work their way through their education, receive tuition benefits. Some employers even offer it at part-time status. So I think we've got to shift the thinking to almost like a just-in-time learning and promote it's okay to be told.
Couple of things. First is, I think part of the challenge is making it welcoming, that you're always welcome back to our company, right? Whatever point in your life that it's the right opportunity for you, will take you. But sometimes students just aren't ready for that experience, and that's okay. But they do know people and friends, and they'll promote that. The other question I've got, maybe this is for the audience as much as the educators, have you had any experiences where teachers came in and maybe spent a month at your workplace to learn more during the summer so that they could take that knowledge back and really help promote what you do as they're educating students, that it's less about that, that score, math score, it's about this relates to what they're doing at XYZ company. I'm just curious, and maybe educators can comment if you've got teachers going into local companies to learn more.
Bobby, I can, from Inspire, what we've done is we've taken general core education teachers and split them up and put them into different companies, one for them to see, but then likewise bringing employers into the school districts to see that perspective as well. We're planning a K-12 event where they can see what's happening all the way through the pipeline. So here's what we're teaching in middle school, high school, all the way up to post-secondary, and here are their opportunities. The externship piece, we have done those externships. So we've asked employers to provide a stipend to teachers because a lot of teachers will work in the summer to supplement their income. So it's pretty nominal stipend, but then the teachers are going in and then coming back and looking at their curriculum and using support as far as how they're going to then modify that or integrate that, what they learned across the different industries. So it's definitely something we can bring back now that we don't have COVID.
And I think that's a great program because educators are taught to be educators, right? People in business are doing what they're doing, and there's this gap between those two worlds, and we certainly need to bridge that gap more than one way.
I would also push it back to the employers as well, because I think a lot of your employees don't necessarily know, well, I know this because we do service with parents, they don't know all of the resources and tools that are available in the school districts. Many parents don't know what career pathways even are. They don't know about college credit opportunities. They don't know about clubs and organizations. So, I mean, I would put an open invite that if you ever want to host parents, we're happy to come in and do a lunch and learn or just educate your parents on what are the resources and tools available to them in the community. We're also launching a parent connection, if you will, like an evening, just-in-time chat opportunity for parents to connect and ask questions. My kid is interested in going into this. How did they get there? Because they can't always meet with school counselors during the workday. So there's lots of tools and resources that are being resourced and launched in the Lac County region. So it's a work in progress, but we're making great progress.
So I've got one closing question, so we can get you all out of here. This is, maybe anyone who wants to grab it or multiple. Oftentimes our employers are on the front lines of hiring people from out of the area. And as Sadie mentioned in her first comments, a lot of what they're considering in quality of place is school districts. So if you could arm our employer base here with a quick pitch, a highlight for your school district of how do you sell a prospective family who may be being recruited to SSM Health, right? Who's considering living in your school district. What do they need to know when they're meeting with that recruit about your school that's a commercial or a pitch?
I'll start. Oakville, the best little school district in the state of Wisconsin, is really our pitch. But it's a place where everyone knows your name. Everyone knows who you are. You're in a class of 35, 40 kids. Everyone knows who you are. You are not a number. You are a name in our school. So the teachers all know everybody and all the students. So that's really the pitch that we give parents and the students actually say that to us is I'm not a number, I'm a name, and everybody knows who I am.
Fond du Lac, there are two things. Our schools are safe now. That was a narrative that I came in that I had to work through. And number two, we refer to ourselves as a district of opportunities. And we have a lot of opportunities and options just because of our sheer size. And that's what we pitch when I talk to our employers.
I think I know for Obviously, we're the right size school district, so we have as many opportunities as larger systems, but also small enough where we a little more knowledgeable you're a student and your own child coming through, so we're the right size school district, so we promote ourselves. Because we are.
We've been, same thing, right size, larger schools provide perhaps more opportunities, or a combination of, we know all our kids. 20% of our kids come to us through open enrollment. We've been historically a district of choice. We are not a growing community as far as having developments, but we've been fortunate to provide enough opportunity, meaningful opportunity for our families that, our extended districts around us, people have chosen to come to us, and we'll continue to capitalize on that.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys all once again. Really appreciate it. Take some time to connect. On your way out, please feel free to pass business cards. This is what this is all about. We hope to do this again in the future. So thank you all for coming. And thanks again to Mr. and Mrs. Catering for lunch. Grab a menu on your way out for their catering.